Hey everybody, I have not done a video on my channel in quite some time, so I thought I would hop on here and say hello to everybody, let you know I'm still here. And I have been seeing a lot of talking in the EXJW groups, and I've actually got some emails about the same thing. And I think right now a lot of people are afraid. And so I wanted to make this video about that fear around what's going on right now with Russia and the Ukraine. And I wanted to bring out several points in this video, and I really hope that it's helpful to kind of ease your mind if you're nervous about this right now. I want to start by telling you that I did a little research about war, and this is what I found about wars around the world. Of the past 3,400 years, humans have been entirely at peace for 268 of them, or just 8% of recorded history. So, right off the bat, we need to think about this and reason on it just a little bit. Okay? We've only been at peace 8% of recorded history on wars. That means it's nothing new. As much as the Watchtower wants to spin it that it is, and that it's supposed to fit some kind of narrative for the end, it doesn't fit. So that this is nothing new. Also, I know that the organization has always brought out the cry for peace and security from the UN is another thing that is a sign. And I want to read you something from the UN's actual website. And it says, since the UN's creation on October 24th, 1945, the date its charter came into force, the United Nations has often been called upon to prevent disputes from escalating into war, or to help restore peace following the outbreak of armed conflict, and to promote lasting peace in societies emerging from wars. Once again, this is nothing new, guys. This is their job. So when you see the UN, which I've watched a little bit of it too, I try not to watch too much of it because it's quite disturbing what's going on, but that's their job. That's why they were formed in 1945, so that they could promote world peace. I mean, man's wanted peace. People have wanted peace since our existence. It's something inside of us that we want, right? We all want peace. None of us like conflict. So again, this is nothing new that there would be a group formed to promote peace once again getting involved. It does not mean that the end of the world is near. I want to talk about healthy fear versus unhealthy fear. Okay, healthy fear is you're walking down a train track, okay, and all of a sudden you hear the sound of a train. You feel the vibrations, you hear it, you didn't realize that it was that close, maybe it didn't blow its horn, and there was a curve, and you realized all of a sudden, oh my goodness, I can feel this on the tracks, I'm jumping off. Okay, that's a healthy fear, because you know that if you don't get out of the way, that train will kill you. Okay, so that fear is healthy. It's good for you to have that kind of fear. Okay, now, the acronym for fear in an unhealthy way is false evidence appearing real. Now, this kind of unhealthy fear keeps you in what's called a survive reactive state. Okay, what is a survive reactive state? Well, let me read you something. Again, I did some research online, and I'm quoting from some information that I got. A reactive state of mind is a pattern of brain activity that has become ingrained through repetition, much like grooves being worn into a surface through repeated motion. Sound familiar? Being told something over and over again. Water forms grooves into rocks when it flows the same way. That's exactly what happens to our brains when we're told something over and over again. I'd like to read a statement right now, with that being said, that might interest you. And here's the statement. When your own thoughts are forbidden, when your questions are not allowed, and our doubts are punished, when contacts with friendships outside of the organization are censored, we are being abused. For the ends never justify the means. When our heart aches knowing we have made friendships and secret attachments that will forever be forbidden if we leave, we are in danger. When we consider staying in a group because we cannot bear the loss, disappointment, and sorrow our leaving will cause for ourselves and those we have come to love, we are in a cult. If there's any lesson to be learned, it is that an ideal can never be brought about by fear, abuse, and the threat of retribution. Let me read that again. An ideal can never be brought about by fear, abuse, and the threat of retribution. When family and friends are used as a weapon in order to force us to stay in an organization, something has gone terribly wrong. And the author of this statement is Deborah Layton from the book Seductive Poison, a Jonestown survivor story of life and death in the People's Temple. You thought it was going to be from somebody in the organization, because I thought it was going to be from somebody in the organization when I first posted it on my Facebook page and when I first read it. So, if any of you are familiar, which I'm sure quite a few of you are familiar with the Jonestown incident, that was a cult formed by a man named Jim Jones. And these people were so horrified of what he predicted, okay, would happen, that they were talked into drinking Kool-Aid laced with poison, and they died. A lot of people died that day, all because of fear. Now I want to read you something from researching a little bit of where fear-based mind control came from. Okay, this is pretty interesting. Fear-based mind control is an old occult tool that is used by the elite to control the masses and keep people in a state of fear, which prevents them from growing out of a survive reactive state. Okay, and embracing their true path and true power. So, all this being said, okay, because we can go back to the reactive state. We understand where the reactive state comes from in our mind. It's something that's told to us over and over and over again until it actually forms grooves into, it's like forming grooves into your mind, okay? And that really does happen. There's a neurological path to fear, okay? So, if fear-based mind control actually keeps us from growing out of a survive reactive state and embracing their true path, our true path and true power, what does that say about fear-based organizations, right? Okay, so all this being said, what do we need to do? If we're super afraid of what's going on right now, and I know a lot of you are, well, we need to look at what we're afraid of and why we are afraid of it, okay? So, what are we afraid of right now? If you are watching the news and you're scared to death, oh my gosh, the Ukraine and Russia, King of the North, this is a really big deal. Okay, well, first of all, the King of the North has been changed to fit their narratives, right? They changed different prophecies that they want to make a point with to fit different times. Okay, you can't do that. It either means one thing or it means another. So already it's lost its power. Okay? And the bigger question is, do we have any proof at all, any proof at all, that there is going to be something called Armageddon? And we don't have to get into the specifics of how many times it was mentioned in the Bible. It really isn't. I'm not going to get into all of that. There's plenty of activist pages that you can look up on YouTube that actually go into detail about debunking prophecies that Jehovah's Witnesses have thrown out there. But remembering the reactive state of mind, okay, do we have any proof that this is going to happen? No, we don't. But because someone told us that it's going to happen over and over and over again, and what to look for and when to look for it, it has formed the reactive state of mind pattern, the fear-based mind control, and it's in the survive reactive state. Okay? When you're told something over and over and over again, when you're told that if you act this way or talk this way or do this, you need to be afraid of this happening to you, that's exactly what's going to be instilled in your mind. Fear. For instance, your mom told you when you were young, I know my mom did, if you cross your eyes, they're going to stay that way. Okay, how many of us saw proof of that? No, seriously, how many of us have seen proof that if you cross your eyes, they're going to stay that way? Nobody. None of us have seen proof of that. I never did. Did I cross my eyes though? Well, maybe some of you were rebellious and you crossed your eyes anyway. I didn't because I was afraid. Okay? I was afraid. So, it's this. I know it's on a very much lower scale than Armageddon coming, but we don't have any more proof of Armageddon coming to destroy everybody except 8 million people that are in the organization than we do that your eyes will stay crossed if you keep doing that. There's no more proof. However, here's what we do have proof of. These are facts. The organization predicted since 1979 that the last days have begun. I'm sorry, where did I get that? 1799. 1799, Russell's first date. He said that in 1799, the last days had begun. Now, granted, they were not a group until, I'm not really sure, but the end of the 1800s. So 100 years prior to that, that was, and that's a fact. Okay? This is something they don't speak about anymore. You're not going to find this in any of the new literature. Most witnesses of the younger generation, or really, when you think about it, gosh, even the older generation of witnesses are really pretty darn old if they remember this kind of stuff. Because I don't know how long this was available for people to read. I know I still have some of them, but this is something that they don't talk about this anymore. So if it was a for sure thing, it was back then, right? Okay, so then this is from the May 15th, 1922 Watchtower, and this is something that Russell stated. He says, "We have no doubt whatsoever in regard to the chronology relating to the dates of 1874, which was the start of Jesus and invisible presence originally. That's what they said, which was later changed to 1914. And then the date 1914, which at that time they preached was the end of the world. That was their Armageddon. No doubt whatsoever that 1914, no doubt, okay? 1918, which was another date that signaled that all religions judged by Jesus. That's when that would happen, that all religions would be judged in 1918, after the 1914 prophecy that fell through. Can you even imagine, though, in 1918, like the Spanish flu broke out? Can you imagine the chaos and the fear that they had at that time? Because, oh my gosh, here it comes, right? 1918, 103 years ago, 104 years ago. Then 1925 was the next end of the world. Okay, the end, that was Armageddon. And from then, it just went on. It was 1935, 1975. I mean, you can look it up. Okay, now it's just around the corner. Since the day I was born, it was just around the corner. Since the day my dad was born, it was just around the corner. My dad passed away 4 years ago. Since before my grandmother was born, it was just around the corner. My grandmother's been gone for decades. Just around the corner. Do you realize that generations of people have lived and died waiting for the end of the world? It's kind of sad when you think about it, isn't it? No, it's more than kind of sad. It's very sad. It never happened. What makes you think it's going to happen now? I mean, we just don't have any proof of it happening, but we do have proof that they've been preaching it for a long time. Lots of failed predictions. So, another thing we have to really think is, who is telling us these things? Who is giving us these dates that are scaring us? Well, we know Russell did. Rutherford did. Then it was Nor. Then it was France. Then it went into a governing body of 8. I don't know how many men in the beginning, but now it's 8 men. Okay? 8 men who have admitted that they are not inspired of God. Okay, so what that means is, if they're not inspired of God, that means that I can tell you that the end of the world is coming. And guess what? You should believe me the same way as you believe them. I'm not inspired. You should believe your neighbor when your neighbor says, well, God told me that a spaceship was going to land on my lawn. So guess what? I'm going to tell everybody about it. There's no proof of any of that. It's just, I say that's what God says. How can you tell other people to live their lives a certain way because God says so? And if you remember correctly, Garrett Loesch did say in one of his videos, well, if Jehovah and Jesus trust us, shouldn't you? Where's he getting that from? How does he know Jehovah and Jesus trust him? It's coming from 8 men that are not inspired at all. Okay? So let's think about that. And let's stop to think about these same 8 men and what they're guilty of. They cover child sexual abuse. You all know that. They cover it. There is a New York court case that came out recently. A young girl was abused at Bethel. You may have heard of it. Her parents were there temporarily, and she went to a couple governing body members, and she told them about it, and they reprimanded her and shamed her for it. They went even as far as to remove her dad's supervisor, who was trying to help her. They moved him into another building. They covered it over directly. No more, oh, we didn't know about this. It's at a Kingdom Hall level. No, it wasn't at a Kingdom Hall level. And this was a long time ago. Those are the men that are scaring you. We all have to think logically about this kind of stuff. Remove ourselves from the situation and don't just think about the fear. Don't just be in that reactive state. Think about it. Think it through. I want to share something else with you that I've shared with you all before on this channel, and that is my frequency chart. Okay, this is my frequency chart, or it's a frequency chart. This is my printout of it. And I want to point out where love resides in this frequency chart, because remember, God says, the Bible says God is love, right? So love is up here. There's love. You see love right there? Way up here. Okay, now I'm going to show you where fear is. Fear is right there. So the difference between fear and love is blue all the way down to orange. The highest almost blue all the way down to orange in this chart. That's the span, the difference between fear and love as far as a frequency chart goes. Now, a frequency is just simply everybody vibrates at a certain frequency. And it depends on how fast or how slow these vibrations are as to what frequency level we're tuned into. Okay, that's a scientific fact. You can look it up on the internet. It is a scientific fact. They have instruments that actually record the frequencies. You can see them. Very interesting stuff. But that's a proven fact. So why would a God who loves us and created us in his image then turn around and constantly keep us in fear of the end, and of not only are we in fear as ex-witnesses or anybody who does fear this right now. I have to say personally, I am not afraid of Armageddon at all. I've been asked that in email, and no, I'm not afraid of it. I'm not afraid of any of their teachings, because they're all false. Okay? Why would a God who created us in his image make our frequency in fear way down at the bottom? How are we going to get to love? I mean, really think about that. How are we going to get to love? We are supposed to be love. The Bible says we have to do all things in love. How in the world are we going to get from fear to love? You saw the difference. You can't. It's impossible. Why would he do that to us? Even witnesses inside of the organization are constantly afraid. Constantly. If they're not afraid for themselves, they're afraid for us who have left. And that's still fear. That still means they're living in fear. And I'd like to show you another thing too on here. Down at the very bottom, that's guilt and shame. So when we're in fear of, oops, we did something wrong because these 8 men in New York told us not to do it, or we're going to die in Armageddon. Now we feel shame and guilt, which really puts us at the bottom of the totem pole here in this frequency chart. Now we're living at the bottom of the barrel. How are we supposed to live in love when we're way down there? And it's not because we've done anything wrong at all. It's because they told us we aren't good enough over and over and over again while we were in the organization, and we still lived in guilt and shame even when we were trying hard. I know I did. I tried very hard, and I still never felt good enough, and I still lived in guilt and shame. And it wasn't of horrible things. It was little things. I didn't do this at the meeting. I didn't study enough. I didn't go out in service enough. That keeps you in that guilt and shame. And that's awful. And that is not up here where we're supposed to be. Living in love. That's not where we're supposed to be. So, another question that you have to ask yourself. Again, going back to a God of love, okay? Why wouldn't he put in these men's hearts? Because Okay, well, going back to what they teach. They teach that if you ask, well, how's this going to happen? How's Armageddon going to come about? What's going to, oh, well, God's going to put it, Jehovah's going to put it in their hearts. Going to put it in their hearts to act this way and cause Armageddon. Right? I mean, we've all heard that. Okay. Why wouldn't he put in their hearts, he's coming from a place of love, okay? Why wouldn't he put in their hearts to promote world peace? Why would he instead put in their hearts to start a war of Armageddon to destroy the rest of the world because they didn't live up to a certain organization's rules and restrictions? Why would a God do such a thing? Wouldn't it be better if he can do anything he wants and he can put things in people's minds? Wouldn't it make more sense than instead of putting fear and war in their minds, that he would instead put in their minds peace and love? Ask your family members that. Why? Why would he do that? Oh, well, because everybody has free will. Do they? Do they have free will? Because he's clearly putting in their minds thoughts of war and death and killing, and he's doing that. That's not free will. When you put it in somebody's mind, war and killing each other, you're not giving them free will. They don't have free will to make that decision as government officials or whoever. So if that's the case, he's already stripped their free will from them. Why wouldn't you put peace in their minds instead? Why not? Doesn't make any sense, does it? If, as parents, okay, if as parents, our children do not grow up to be what we wanted them to be. Let's say we wanted them to be a doctor or a lawyer, or, we wanted them to go to a certain school, or maybe marry a certain person, or have a certain lifestyle. Sure, parents all have that idea, right? That they want this or that for their children, and that's normal. But if they didn't do that, okay, let's say they grew up and they didn't do that. They didn't do what we wanted them, what we thought would be best for them. Would we kill them? Would we kill our children because they did what we told them not to do? Oh, I wanted you to become a lawyer. And you what? You're doing what? You're an electrician? Or you decided to become a plumber, or you work on cars? Well, I wanted you to be a lawyer. You know what? I'm done with you. I wish you dead. Would you do that? Nobody would. But a God of love would. Oh, I want you to live this way, but deep inside, here's how we feel. We feel that, no, we're not comfortable with living that way. We want to live this way. We feel we're following our own heart and our own intuition. But you're going to kill us because of that? Again, where's the free will? Does it make sense? It doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. If you really stop to think about it logically, and not from a place of that reactive state of mind, okay? Don't think from that state. You're reacting to that. You're not thinking about it or tearing it apart. So here's what I recommend. I recommend you make a list of all the things that you disagree with in the organization, that you don't believe anymore, okay? Do you believe in blood transfusions? Do you believe that you shouldn't celebrate holidays? Do you believe you should ignore disfellowship people? Do you believe that you shouldn't get involved with yoga or meditation? Do you believe you should not continue your education? Do you believe you shouldn't have any friends outside of the organization? Do you believe you shouldn't pursue any activities that are on their approved list? Do you believe that? And add to it, whatever. But just make a list. I don't believe in this. I don't believe in that. I don't believe in this. I never believed in that. That always bothered me. But then you get down to making the other list. The other list is what I still believe in that I'm afraid of. I guarantee you it's only the things you're afraid of. Why? Why do you believe in it? Why does it still hold your mind? That's really something seriously to think about, and be really honest with yourself about why you still believe in that. If you go down that list and you say, yeah, I don't believe in all this other stuff, well then, why don't you believe in all the other stuff? Well, because there's no proof that I shouldn't meditate. There's no proof that, you know, voting's wrong, or holidays are wrong, or blood transfusion. There's no proof that I'm going to die because my choice says that I should be allowed to do that. There's no proof. Then why do you still show such extreme fear over that one teaching? That doesn't make sense. That in history has just been false prophecy after false prophecy after false prophecy. Why do you still believe it? Something to think about. So, let's not forget our JW family and friends that are still in, though, our witness family and friends. Because even though it might be a little annoying or upsetting to you that, you know, maybe they're contacting you to try and witness to you and try to get you back in or whatever, they still believe that Armageddon's coming. They still believe they're going to be in paradise, and they still believe you're going to be destroyed. Okay, so really we need to remember, if they do contact us, just to be kind. Because, you know, they have to want to be awake, and if they're not, then you retaliating and saying something negative to them or nasty to them or, you know, whatever, is just going to, in their mind, prove that you are who they were told that you were going to be when you leave the organization. And we don't want to do that. It really isn't their fault. Remember, we used to be there. So, just kind of a reminder. I actually had a friend request today, interestingly enough, on Facebook. Witness, a sister. She was kind of an acquaintance. I really didn't even know her that well. And she was a regular pioneer, and she was kind of a bossy regular pioneer, to be honest, because she, anytime I had anything I was upset about, I pretty much had to block her from my posts, because I usually got this speech about why I should have reacted this way or said it this way or whatever. So I deleted her a long time ago, way before I even woke up. And a couple years later, she ends up sending me a friend request. Why? Well, at first I kind of got irritated, like, what do you want to look, see what's going on in my life, be nosy? Then I realized pretty quickly, you know what? She really thought that she was doing something right. And so I'm not angry about it. I'm not going to accept the friend request because there's no need for me to. I'm not going to put myself into that position to have to hear from her about why she feels that, you know, it's important for me to come back, because I'm sure she's probably heard that I'm not. So, you know, just, it's good reminders to be kind to people that do reach out to you. They're doing it because they really truly feel afraid for your life. And what's very sad is they've lived their whole lives and continue to live their life in expectation of an actual annihilation of people that are not a genocide. That's what they want. You know, they're only the ones that are going to be left, and that's it's not love. Let's just say that. It's not love. So, as you all know, I am a life coach. This is what I specialize in. I specialize in helping people that left the organization, and I help them get out of their negative emotions, get rid of those, and also their limiting beliefs, get rid of those. We took a lot of limiting beliefs and negative emotions with us when we left the organization. So ask yourself some of these questions, okay? Is my fear of the unknown, again, no proof of Armageddon, the unknown, preventing me from doing things I'm interested in? Am I isolating myself from people, places, or things because I'm fearful of this, of Armageddon? Is my life on hold? Are my relationships negatively impacted? Am I missing out on opportunities because I'm fearful of Armageddon? Are a majority of my thoughts and behaviors related to my fear of Armageddon? Fear of being destroyed. Fear of the witnesses being right. You left for a reason. Remember why you left. If you can answer yes to any of these questions, and especially if it's multiple questions, I encourage you to reach out to me because I can help with this. I definitely can help with this, and you will be in a much better place. I promise you. I know because I did it. I was there in that fear. I was in that low vibration for a long time, and I no longer am. And so I would love to talk to you if you want to chat with me. Send me an email or on my website. I'll put all the information below. You can schedule a complimentary free call with me, and we can chat a little bit about what you're going through, what you're feeling, and we can work through these things. Because you really deserve to have a life, a real life. Not living every single day worried sick about what if they're right. Because when you get to the end of your life, like my father did, like my grandmother did, like my great-grandmother did, okay, my great-grandparents, when you get to the end of your life and it's over, and you're 85 years old or whatever it is, and you're standing there going, I lived in so much fear my whole life. I didn't get to do this, and I didn't have that friend, and I didn't have this career, and I didn't do these things and enjoy my life because I was held to this awful fear. How are you going to feel? I know how my dad felt. And actually my dad was disfellowshipped when I was 10, so he left. And he was still to a certain degree held to that. So I knew that I didn't want to stay there anymore. And you shouldn't either. Like I said, you're not in it anymore, because think about, if you're going to have the true religion, this is another thing that you logically need to think about. If it's the true religion, it's all true. 100% of it is true. Not a little bit, not they changed to fit the narrative. Not only some of it's okay, but the rest of it's not true. You pick that list, you see which one of those things you disagree with, that means it's not true. And you know it's not true. There is no proof of these things. This much of it not being true makes it all not true. You cannot mix a little bit of lies in there to make it the true religion. You cannot do that. You cannot curve fit beliefs into an organization, force people to believe these things, and call it the truth. You can't. You also cannot force people to listen to people and really believe in these men that hide pedophiles. You can't. And you're also not going to convince me that a God of love is truly not going to choose love over death. He's choosing, as a God, as the ultimate ruler, to put into these men's minds, I'd rather see these people die in a genocide than to put into your minds, which I have the power to, by the way, world peace. The reason that he doesn't is because everyone has free will. The reason why this doesn't happen is because we all have free will to do what we want to do. Nobody, no higher source puts into our minds what to do. You have intuition, a gut instinct for that. That's how you know what to do. We are born with that. No one's going to force you to do anything. So it doesn't match the narrative when they say, okay, well, you're not going to be forced into doing anything, because we clearly have not been forced into doing anything, right? We're doing our own thing. But God's going to go force these political leaders to start a war instead of peace. None of it makes sense. It absolutely just doesn't make sense. And I know that they like to say that when we leave, our life is in shambles and we're going to end up a drug addict under a bridge somewhere. I have never had this much peace in my life. I have never felt so good about myself as a human being. I have never lived at such a high frequency out of fear, guilt, and shame, unworthiness, all of that, ever in my entire life. I was on antidepressants, anti-anxieties, drinking heavily, all to hide this pain. I don't do any of that anymore. So that doesn't match their narrative, does it? The only reason that a lot of the people that leave end up in those situations is because they live in fear and guilt and shame, and they don't get out of that. They still live in those limiting beliefs of, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, you know, I'm going to die in Armageddon is a horrible limiting belief. If I don't do these things that this particular group, and need I repeat, who hides pedophiles, tells them to do. None of that's true. So reach out to me if you'd like. I really hope this helped some of you, because I really felt like it was a necessary topic to go over and kind of try to dissect it a little bit and think about it. So you all have a great rest of your wherever you're at, day, evening, whatever. And if you love my video, click like and subscribe to my channel. I'm going to really be putting some effort into making other videos. I'm also going to be changing the name of this channel to my actual name, which is Lori Cline, and changing the picture to myself. So just wanted you all to know that I am doing that as well. So I'm not worried about hiding. I'm not afraid. I just really haven't changed it over because I didn't make a video that I was going to do it. So just letting you know that I am going to be doing that. So I hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.